life is a simulation, that we're just characters in a game that keeps us blinded in an unimaginable world. This game is what I call a matrix. The type of matrix I'm talking about is a metaphorical version of the computer simulated world portrayed in the movie with Keanu Reeves. An idea that we as human beings are being controlled by a specific thing or person. That society in general is implanting fear, hate, ignorance, and many other ideas that are causing us to forget who we really are. For example, think of your social media accounts. I want you to lock in on one specific photo, comment, or story on any social media platform. Ask yourself, is that really you or an approval stamp for someone else? The matrix drug, which represents all of the implicit bias, hate, fear, etc., in us, forces us to choose a side. We can see this in politics, sports, and even religion. In this specific case, it's choosing between someone else's version of you or your unfiltered self. Both sides have different consequences. One side might give you more friends, happiness, and a sense of security, but what does it matter if it's all fake? One side might give you fewer friends, less joy, and a feeling of loneliness, but what does it matter if you're staying true to yourself? Mr. Miyagi once said, "Whole life has a balance, everything will be better." This is a story of how a 16-year-old Indian boy from southern Delaware found that balance in this mind controlling matrix by simply reflecting on his past. When I was a kid, I was pretty normal. Normal in the sense that I laughed, cried, and got mad at petty things. I was at the peak of my life. A time of innocence portrayed in one of my favorite films, The Florida Project, where we're exploring a whole new world free of preconceived judgments. I'm looking directly at you, adults. To give you some sort of context, I was a kid who dressed up as Megan Trainor and lip synced all about that bass in front of my entire class. I was not self conscious at all. Anyway, as I got older, I started to develop an awareness of my conscious and thoughts. I formed opinions, stereotypes, and filled my mind with implicit bias. For example, I said no to the girl who asked me to dance because I thought my friends would make fun of me. All of these love and hate residing judgments were influenced by my environment, which included my families, friends, and heroes. This goes to show, like almost everyone in the world, I was a product of my environment. Though, as Sylvain Leclue said in his album entitled Apologies in Advance, it's an age-old thing of nature versus nurture. Are you going to allow yourself to be influenced by the things that you came up with, or are you going to allow yourself to grow, change, and hear other perspectives and new ideas and adapt that to yourself? It took me until about 8th grade to realize this. I realized that I was stuck in the matrix of liberal or conservative, cool or weird, pretty or ugly, etc. Like George Carlin, I told myself I was going to leave those symbols to the symbol minded, but I could not foresee the conflict ahead. After I had this revolution, I started reflecting on my past. I mean, holy cow, I acted like I was the Indian Jamie Lannister. I was selfish, materialistic, and a genuine jerk. I was being controlled by the Matrix, which was my environment. I made fun of people because everyone else did. I harshly stereotyped others because of their opinions. And worst of all, I acted like everyone else's version of myself. This was a pretty low point for me as I didn't know how to react. I just kept pitying myself for who I was, but not who I was going to be. I also was battling the fact that I was stuck in the matrix of my reality and there's nothing I could do to escape. Every night I would lie for hours at night, staring in my bed, filled with the ecstasy of all my emotions. Then I remembered a quote I wrote down early from Trinity in a movie called The Matrix. Coincidence? I think not. She said the Matrix cannot tell you who you are. From that point on, I decided to forgive myself for certain aspects of my past self and focus on myself in the now. Also started to explore my thoughts, expose myself to the new, and be the true, curious version of Pranay, no middle name Samuel. But where do I go from here? Ever since then, I've become such a better person, even though I've had some slip ups here and there. For the first time in my life, I'm actually decently happy with myself. As Miss O'Brien said in the movie called The Tree of Life, the only way to be happy is to love. The less you love, your life will flash by. Do good to them. Wonder, hope. By choosing love over fear, I've made unthinkable friendships, rid myself of all hate, and appreciated my extremely privileged life even more. All of this coming from realizing that I was being controlled by the matrix of my society. You're probably thinking, but Renee, you barely talked about the matrix. Good question. You found out about what this talk is about. If you worry about being controlled by your matrix and the 99% of the people in the world who act like robots, you just end up lost, confused, and in a worse state that you were before. Focus on yourself. Focus on being happy. You only got one life, and there is no reboot card. Sadly, the reality is that as of now, you cannot physically escape your matrix, though you can still mentally outrun it. Some steps to do so include not letting anybody tell you who you are, forgiving people for their past, and not judging others for their opinions. Free yourself of all the hate, fear, and greed your matrix has installed in you and expose yourself to everything life has to offer. Watch films that put you in a euphoria. Listen to music that give you good goosebumps that so bad that you shed a tear. And explore this weird world to the max. Love everyone like Mr. Rogers, but most importantly, don't forget to love yourself. Do all these things added with trying to find balance in your life, and you'll be one step closer to escaping your matrix. And when you do, show the robots how good it is to finally be free. I know I will. Work hard. Be somebody. Be something more than what you see in the mirror. Let the world be your mirror. Don't let them judge you, because the mirror can't judge you. You judge what you see in the mirror. Lil Wayne.